Welcome to the Royal Daily Tea YouTube channel. Please be advised all of my videos are for entertainment purposes only, based 100% on my own opinion, my own theories, and my own research. All of my information can be found on the public domain and falls under the fair use guidelines. Please feel free to do your own research. Good afternoon and welcome back to the Royal Daily Tea. So today we're going to discuss the Sussex's Unroyal tour of New York City. A lot of people had questions about why are they there? What are they doing? What is their purpose? Well, I have an answer for you, so stay tuned. So as we know, the Sussexes descended upon New York City starting on Thursday of this week. Their first stop out of the Big Apple was at the One World Trade Center, where they paid homage to the 9/11 victims. The couple was joined at the One World Observatory with the mayor of New York City, Bill de Blasio, and the governor, Kathy Hochul. Both of the Sussexes were flanked in head-to-toe black, with Meghan wearing a very monochromatic look of a heavy blazer, full turtleneck, and these trousers that were way too long. Now, I love the monochromatic look. I always find that to be a very classy look. And as you know, during the inauguration, everyone was rocking that one color look. So Meghan's stylist apparently took a page from that, and she was rocking head to toe. I believe it was actually a dark navy. If you look very closely, it looks like they were matching in their outfits. Now, I love a blazer and a pantsuit, but to me, this just was very, very heavy. It looked heavy. It looked like she was dressing for the Arctic and not for New York City. The weather was around 80 degrees. It was very humid, and she's wearing an extremely heavy coat and a turtleneck and pants. Not to mention the pants were, in my opinion, were ill-fitting. They were dragging on the floor. It wasn't a good look. I literally just wanted to run over and hem her pants. For all the money that she spends on this wardrobe, you guys, you think she would have had someone make her pants fit a little better. So after they were at the 9/11 memorial, the following day they went out to Harlem, where Meghan was again rocking a monochromatic look in a maroon cranberry color. Now, I love the color, and it wasn't a bad looking suit. However, it's not my cup of tea. I still feel like it was like she was drowning in it. Maybe she's trying to camouflage some extra pounds from her pregnancy. But again, to me, it didn't look flattering. I felt she would have been better at a more tailored outfit. It was a very heavy cashmere material. Again, it's 80 degrees in New York. She's dressing way too heavy and too thick for this time of year. So a lot of people were making fun of her dressing like for the Arctic. And if you follow me on TikTok, you know I did the whole winter is coming type of thing, because she literally looked like she's dressing for a snow blizzard and not 80-degree humid weather. So she shows up in this $10,000 suit. You heard me right. This suit was $10,000. And of course, her trademark $300,000 worth of jewelry. She is wearing the infamous $60,000 pinky ring, Princess Diana's $30,000 gold Cartier tank watch, and of course, all of her expensive engagement and diamond rings. So Meghan is fully decked out in about $387,000 to a very underprivileged school in Harlem, where she subjects these children to reading the bench. So Meghan shows up with the cameras. They're there to meet the principal. They donate 2 boxes of garden-filled food and herb to stock the kids' pantries. And she reads a copy of The Bench to the children. The children were, I believe, first and second graders. So they're all very happy that Meghan and Harry are there. But let's be real. Those kids had no clue who any of those people are. If you remember being a kid in elementary school, if you had a guest at your school, you were excited because you got out of class and you got punch and you got cookies and everything was fun in elementary school. You were just jazzed to be out of school. So they have a video of Harry and Meghan, you guys, being heckled really badly. Again, what people don't understand is that Harry and Meghan sent out, notice to the press that they're going to be in New York. They're going to be at these places. So the paparazzi showed up at their invitation. They weren't being harassed, besides the heckler, by other paparazzi because Meghan and Harry let it known. They wanted to be seen at these events. Again, they're posing for photographs at New York Trade Center. They're posing for photographs with the president and the kids at Harlem. Everything was for publicity. So when they talk about being hounded by the press, sure, the press are going to take photos. If you're a public figure and you're showing up at public events, yeah, the press is going to take a photo. That is fair game. But they also sent out a press junket for the paparazzi to be there because they wanted publicity for their events. There was also a couple of fans at these events because, again, they publicized the Sussexes were going to be there. So, of course, people are going to show up. But here's the funny thing. So while Harry was with these children at Harlem, he was hugging them. One child got very overzealous and was literally clinging to Harry. And you could see in the video clip that I can't play here, but it's on my TikTok, where he's being heckled by somebody saying, "Why the F are you here? Why the F are you here?" Because no one knows why they're there. He flings this child off of him, literally pushes the child aside. And you can tell by the reaction of the principal or the teacher that is kind of off to the side, kind of says something to Harry like, "Hey, we don't do that," because he literally flung this child very roughly away from him. And to me, that's like, whoa, why would you do that? And on another clip, he kind of digs his fingers into the shoulder of this one girl and kind of pushes her as well. He didn't look super friendly. It was very awkward. It was very forced. There was another scene where Harry is sitting on stage with the children and they're not interacting with him. They're not paying attention to him. Again, they don't know who this white dude is. Who is this dude? And he's forcing interactions. He's forcing conversations for the cameras, you guys. It's all for the cameras. So right after they go to the school in Harlem, they go to a very famous restaurant in Harlem called Melba's, where they meet with the owner of Melba. And of course, Harry has his first chicken and waffles and soul food because, Meghan and Harry, they're all about people of color, all about being part of the community. So they got to go have soul food with this, lady in Harlem. Well, while they're there, they take a lot of paparazzi photos. Of course, it's good PR. And they donate $25,000 to the restaurant's employee fund. Now, I'm going to say that is a very nice gesture that they did help out this restaurant. However, I personally feel they could have used that money elsewhere. No shame or negative feelings toward Melba. I'm sure she's a lovely woman. But again, you have to realize this is a very famous restaurant that a lot of celebrities frequent. Not to mention, they probably got a lot of money from the government and the PPP loan. So the fact that Harry and Meghan gave them $25,000 when they could have maybe, gone to a hospice or cancer research or the homeless, but they gave it to this Harlem restaurant and then they only donated 2 boxes of food to the school. Again, she's wearing a $10,000 outfit to go to the school. I don't know. It just seemed to me like they could have directed their funds elsewhere. So also while they were there, they went to the UN on 2 separate occasions, meeting with important ambassadors and attending the General Assembly of the UN World Leaders. Again, why are they there? They are not political figures. They do not hold office. They are not even working members of the royal family. I don't understand why Harry and Meghan feel like they're trying to be George Clooney and Amal Clooney or something. Like, I don't understand. Now, I do know that they are the global ambassadors for Global Citizen Live, where they are there to promote the equity of vaccines to countries who currently do not have access to the vaccine. So after those two showings at the UN, they did the big event at Central Park, guys, where they did this huge speech, which again was another lecture where they talked about the corporate elites of the pharmaceutical world only giving the vaccine to the 10 rich white countries, and they need to make it more equitable, and they need to make the vaccine readily available for the countries that want it, but that the pharmaceutical companies are keeping the recipe away from these poor countries and they're not able to make the vaccine, according to Harry and Meghan. So, of course, Harry and Meghan have been shouting out the hypocrisy and the bureaucracy of the corporate elites and the misinformation that is being spread about the vaccine. It's like misinformation, hypocrisy, bureaucracy. I mean, are you looking in a mirror? Are you talking about yourself? Because the two people talking about misinformation shouldn't come from Harry and Meghan, the Duke and Duchess of misinformation. Talk about people who don't tell the truth. Hello, are you actually saying this to people on national television? To me, that was the funniest thing of their speech. So they gave this speech where she walks out there in this very short, white Valentino mini dress valued between $3,500 and $5,800. Not to be mean, but to me, it was not the best choice of a dress for her. Being thick in the middle, that dress looked like a potato sack. No offense to Meghan, but I just did not find this dress very becoming. And then they give their usual lecture, woke speech to the masses. Now, the funny thing is, the people who were in the audience, there was around 60,000. They're there for a concert. They're there to have fun. You know, New York City was hit very heavily with COVID. People are barely just getting back to their normal lives. They want to have a concert. They want to have a good time. They don't need these two do-gooders from Montecito who are part of the privileged elite that they're speaking against come out and lecture to them. They don't need it. They're there to listen to music and have a good time. And it's funny because during the speech, you know, the Sussexes were on stage. This was a live event that was being broadcast to London, New York, and some other countries. It was a big production. They were right next to a green screen. So you know they had to have the canned fake applause on deck, because what if the Sussexes were booed? What if they were heckled on live television? You had to have a way to cover that, correct? So I believe they had that fake laughter, the fake applause, the fake cheers. Although I do believe they did get some applause and cheers from people in the crowd. I also believe that there was a fake applause track, because if you look during the speech, when they pan out to the audience, the look of the people's faces and then all the cheers were not matching the crowd. Most of the people were not even paying attention. They were looking at their phone, or they were filming with their phone, but they weren't cheering and they weren't clapping. So every time they would pan to the crowd, it would be really quick, and then they would move back because it wasn't matching the applause. Now, did Harry and Meghan receive cheers? I'm sure they did. But again, Harry was using words like New York City, or we happy to be here. Of course, everyone's going to clap because they're in New York City. Vaccine live. Let's get rid of let's get the vaccine out. Well, everyone's cheering for that. So Harry and Meghan used a lot of buzzwords. And then they did this weird thing where when he introduced Meghan as his wife, they cheered and she hugged. And it was just a very cringe-worthy speech for two overprivileged people talking about bureaucracy and misinformation. And it's like, have you seen the Oprah Winfrey interview? Talk about the poster child for misinformation and hypocrisy and bureaucracy. This was the same prince who, in his speech, said, where you're born shouldn't matter. Where you're born shouldn't matter. You should have access to the vaccine. Well, that's funny coming from a privileged prince who on national television was upset that the taxpayers of the UK were not going to support his lifestyle, even though he was walking away from his duty. Talk about not reading a room. Literally said that in his speech, which was hilarious to me, that he's like, this is a person who was born into privilege, who loves his privilege, who walks around with a title in a country where there are no titles, walks around and monetizes his birthright, where he was born, how he was born, his privilege, but then gives a speech on where you're born shouldn't matter. Well, then why are you monetizing your titles? Why not just go by Harry Windsor? Why do you have to be Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex? So it just seemed very hypocritical that these two people who make money and monetize titles and wealth and privilege give a speech about wealth and privilege. It just was hilarious to me. So somebody online did a breakdown of all of Megan's clothing. They did an article called The Designer Duchess. Meghan wore no less than $60,000 worth of clothing for 4 days. That is not including her $300,000 plus of jewelry. So as you can imagine, that $25,000 donation and those 2 boxes of food weren't exactly a big donation from this couple, considering the fact Meghan, wore more in clothing than she did in actual donations. So here's the big question. Why were the Sussexes there? Besides the fact that they were there for the Global Citizen event, well, they were there for 2 reasons. And the 2 reasons were, 1, they are ambassadors for the Global Citizens Live. So since they were showing up live for this event, which by the way, they could have done a Zoom call. They didn't really need to go to New York and spend the private jet fare. And they rolled around in 10 Escalades with about 20 security members. But again, they were there as ambassadors for the Global Live event where they gave that speech. But the real reason why they were there, in my opinion, is they're filming something for Netflix. That's right. They're filming something for Netflix. So quite a few people have pointed out that Harry was seen with a microphone pack. There were some wires hanging out of his clothing, and there was a videographer following the couple around for all of their events. And he was clearly there on purpose. He was not part of the press, and the couple was clearly okay with him filming everything that they did. So when I tell you this couple does everything for the cameras, I'm not joking. They literally were there filming the couple for Netflix. This is going to be part of a Netflix docuseries, and the reason why Netflix is paying these people $20 to $80 million. They're not paying them for Pearl or for the Heart of Invictus. They're paying them for behind-the-scenes footage of kind of like a reality show, a docuseries of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. They have been doing this for well over a year. Every single time they would do charity in the past, they would show up with a film crew. They would show up with photographers. So even when they went to that memorial service, in the park where they're famously laying wreaths on the fallen soldiers, that was all for PR. They literally cleared out the cemetery. They had a professional photographer and videographer filming them lay wreaths on the graves because they're going to use it in an upcoming docuseries. Why would you do that? Why would you publicize that? Right? Everything for this couple is about PR. So in my personal opinion, the reason why they did the whole New York tour was part of Meghan and Harry's plan to be more visible and also for their Netflix docuseries. So they thought they would kill 2 birds with 1 stone. They would go to New York City. The Global Citizen organization would pay for their private plane, would pay for their $1,300 a night stay in the Carlisle Hotel. I don't know if they actually paid for their security as well, but let me tell you, their security detail was like that of an ex-president or a very important political figure. Seriously, I think they got more security for these 4 days than Kate and William has ever had. It was a ridiculous show of privilege. They had almost armed police guards at one event. This was a big deal. Now, of course, they did have the New York mayor and governor there, but again, Harry and Meghan showing up at the UN like a bunch of political figures. It was over the top with the amount of escalades and security that they had for each of their events, and the videographer following them around. They show Harry's wire hanging out on a couple of occasions. Why? If you're just there for charity, why would you have a microphone pack? Why would you have a videographer following you around? You have the press there because you called the press to cover the event. So why do you need a personal videographer, guys? It's for a Netflix docuseries. This couple is monetizing on their charity because everything about the Sussexes is about appearance and money. So mark my words, next month when Harry and Meghan go back to the UK, because Harry has to go there for the Invictus Games with a Netflix crew. He's trying to have the royal christening with his daughter, Lilibet Diana. Again, I believe they're just trying to get good footage for their docuseries. They want to be seen with the Queen, and they want to have the royal christening. I mean, talk about ratings gold for Netflix. If you get the Sussexes and all their charitable work and their heavenly speeches that they give at these huge events to, to large crowds that are cheering them, and then you have the royal christening, and we're still in with the royals and the granny loves us. I mean, talk about Netflix gold. That's what Netflix is paying them for, access to the royal family. And the behind the scenes gossip. They're going to do the whole Megxit year of life after the royals and all the charity work. It's going to be worse than the Lifetime movie that was played, guys, because it's going to have real footage of the real couple pretty much reacting or enacting the Lifetime movie. When I told you I watched the Lifetime movie, I literally liked Meghan in the movie because they made her so sweet and nice and likable because it was fake. But now they're actually doing it in real life. They're making it all very nice. They're collecting all this montage, and they're just going to look like Mr. and Mrs. Mother Teresa. Literally. She's going to look like real life Ariel come to life. She's painting herself out to be the Duchess of the people, but she's not. She's the designer Duchess, literally wearing $60,000 worth of clothing for 4 days and $300,000 plus of jewels. And all of this was for publicity. So they also went to the UN because they're speaking with the world leaders and the pharmaceutical companies, like anyone is actually going to pay attention to these two buffoons, right? The royal family doesn't even want anything to do with them. I can imagine the royal family's reaction right now to seeing Harry and Meghan and their speeches, and they're, walking around looking like political figures and royal family figures with all their publicity and the security. It is just a joke. I'm sure they're probably so embarrassed that the unofficial royals of Montecito are out running amok and embarrassing themselves with their titles, with the Duke and Duchess of Sussex titles. It's so cringeworthy to know how fake they are and that nobody sees it. How do people not see this? I don't get it, really. He literally is wearing a microphone, you guys, and a wire, and he had a videographer following them around. This was a publicity tour for Netflix. It's coming, guys. It's probably part of his memoir next year. They've always denied for years that they're not doing a reality show. We're not doing anything for Netflix. But every single time they do a charity event, anytime these two show up somewhere, they have their own photographer and a videographer. Well, why? If you're not doing it for Netflix, what are you doing it for? Your home movie collection? Seriously? For the two people who want privacy, then why do you have to have everything publicized? It doesn't make sense. That whole appearance at the Global Citizen event could have been done over Zoom. Just like he did the GQ Awards, he could have just phoned it in. They could have done that speech live from their home in Montecito. They didn't need to go to New York for 4 days with their 20 Escalades and their 50 security guards and their $60,000 worth of clothing. They didn't have to do that in person. but they did, and it was a lot of money and a lot of expense. For what? That 2-minute speech that they gave on stage? All of that for that? So I'm telling you, something fishy is going on, and I guarantee you it's for Netflix. So what are your thoughts? Do you think they're filming a docuseries for Netflix? Do you think that the Global Citizen Organization picked up the tab for their massive security and for their hotel bill? And what do you think of this $60,000 monochromatic fall wardrobe that the Duchess wore? I literally feel like she went on a catalog and said, I'm going to take a pantsuit in every color. White, olive green, maroon, you name it. I just feel like she just chose so many pantsuits. Did I miss the memo? Is it the fall season of pantsuits? Maybe I need to go pull out my little catalog and start ordering myself some clothes that looks like I'm ready to go to the Arctic, because apparently that's the fashion right now. Leave your comments, guys, down below. Let me know what you thought of this video. I appreciate each and every single one of you. If you don't know, the Royal Daily Tea website is up under royaldailytea.com. So make sure you go and check it out. I will be adding some more content this week. As always, I appreciate you for stopping by the channel. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and check me out on TikTok and Instagram. As always, thank you and have an amazing day.